right, today we are going to find inverse functions. So here's kind of a definition. Inverse functions, in the most general sense, are functions that reverse each other. For example, if f takes a to b, then the inverse f inverse must take b to a. Notice the notation here. This is our inverse notation right here, f with that little -1 up there. That does not mean f to the power of -1, that means f inverse, all right? So essentially what we have here is if we have a function f, its inverse is written f with a -1, and then really what that means is your domain and your range switch. Okay, so your domain and your range switch if we take the apple to the lemon, and then when we input the lemon, we get the apple out back. So the apple is now your output over here when it was your input to the f function. So essentially, again, big idea, the x and the y switch. So here's the ordered pair 2, 9. In the inverse, the ordered pair is 9, 2. X and y switch. Okay, so the methods of finding the inverse function, there are 3. In an ordered pair, you literally just interchange the x and y. You just switch them. A graph, you reflect the graph over the line y equals x, or you can just switch the x and y coordinates. In an equation, you switch y and x and you solve for y. We're going to do an example of the graph first, okay? So on Delta Math, you'll be asked to do some of these where you want to graph it and they want 5 points. So what you do is you pick 5 points on the actual graph and pick the nice points that go through the curve. Okay, maybe these ones here and this one. Okay, and so then actually write it as a coordinate pair. So that one was -5, -1. Here we have -5, -7. We have 0, -2. And we have 0, -6. And we have 4, -4. Okay, so this is one way to do it. And then you just switch the x and y's. That's the big idea. We always just switch x and y's. Okay, and you can think of it as a reflection. So this dotted line through the middle is the line y equals x. And so that is just a reflection over the line y equals x. Okay, so I'm going to do the inverse and let's do the inverse in my sparkly rainbow color. So if my point was 4, -4, f inverse is going to be -4, 4. So I'm going to go to -4, 4. And that is a reflection over the line. Okay. 0, -2, f inverse is -2, 0. So -2, 0. And again, it's a reflection. 0, -6 would be -6, 0, or a reflection. -5, -1 will be -1, -5, reflection. -5, -7 will be -7, -5. They just flip-flop. So here is the graph of the inverse, okay? Reflection over that line. All right, let's do a couple examples of how to actually find it if I give you a problem. So like if I give you that f of x equal 2x minus 5, we're going to find f inverse. Okay, so step 1, switch x and y. Okay, now remember, f of x is just a fancy way of writing y. So you can just rewrite it like that. And now we're going to switch my x and y. So instead of saying y equals, it's going to say x equals 2. And instead of x there, it's going to be a y. So that's step 1. Step 2, solve for y. So now we're going to get this y alone. So we're going to start by undoing the -5. We're going to add 5 to both sides. Okay, the last step to get excuse me, to get y alone is we are going to divide every single term by 2. So we get x over 2 plus 5 halves is equal to y, which then you can even rewrite it so that you have the correct terminology. F inverse is equal to x over 2 plus 5 halves. Okay, let's do one more with some fractions. So let's say my f of x is 2/3 x plus 7. Okay, so this is really y equals 2/3 x plus 7. So we are going to switch the x and y, and we're going to say x equals 2/3 y plus 7. And now we're going to solve for y. So I'm going to start by undoing my 7 by subtracting 7 from both sides. Okay, so now how do we deal with this 2/3? There's a couple of different ways, but the way I like to do it is I like to multiply both sides by 3 over 1 first, because then this creates a 6y over 3, which is just a 2y. 6 divided by 3 is 2y. And so if I multiply this right side by 3 over 1, I have to multiply the other side by 3 over 1. So I'm just essentially multiplying by that denominator. Don't forget to distribute the 3 in. Okay, then we have one more step where we get to divide by 2. Every single term divided by 2. So 3 halves x minus 21 halves equals f inverse. So there's our inverse. So we're going to be focusing on just solving linear equations today and doing the graphs. All right, please reach out if you have any questions.